Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Today, we're going to talk about something that I love to do. It's one of my favorite things. They're called analogies. They are a great way to increase vocabulary, sharpen the way that you think, make you a better critical thinker. So when you're answering questions after reading things and they're asking you to come back with answers that are a little bit more than just what color was this or what year was this, it just makes you a better thinker. So let's start with talking about what analogies are, because I'm going to have you guys practicing these for the rest of the term after today, just to get you kind of started. So, analogies show a relationship between two objects or concepts using logic and reasoning. They're often set up in a standard format using colons to represent the words. These analogies are set up in a standard format. So, the example is tree, leaf, flower, petal. There's your colon, and there's your double colon. Here's a colon. You don't read it tree, leaf, flower, petal. You read the analogy as tree is to leaf, as flower is to petal. Is to is that first colon. As is that middle double colon, and is to again is that second colon. So you would read tree is to leaf, so the relationship is right there. As flower is to petal, they need to share the same relationship. So if I look at tree and I look at leaf, and I'm just thinking out loud, I think, well, the leaf is part of a tree. Oh, and that works because a petal is also part of a flower. So this would be called a whole part. Here's the whole, the tree, and here's part of it. Here's the whole, the flower, and here's part of it. That's just one out of numerous relationships you can have in analogies. And again, this colon here represents is to, as is to. So let's try some more examples. So if I were looking at these analogies, they don't all have the same kind of relationship. For instance, hammer is to nail as comb is to blank. Well, before I can figure out what's going to go there, I need to figure out the relationship here. So a hammer is a tool. That's what I know about a hammer. And we use it on a nail. So we use this tool on a nail. So a comb, I have to look at as a comb as a tool. Well, what do we use a comb as? What do we use it with? We use it on what? I'm thinking hair. So if I had to guess, I would say hammer is to nail as comb is to hair. And if you notice, that is correct. Now I double clicked and gave up the next one, but the next one I think was pretty obvious. So I'm just going to keep going. White is to black as up is to down. The relationship here is white and black would be opposites. We call those antonyms. So then I would be looking for the opposite of up would be down. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Mansion is to shack as yacht is to blank. Well, a mansion, that's the big, pretty, gorgeous house where, rich people live. No, certainly not me. A mansion. And then a shack would be a much smaller version of a mansion. So we're talking about both their places we live in. They're places to be lived in. One is big and fancy, and one is little and not so fancy. So that kind of helps me with yacht, because I do know that a yacht, again, something I couldn't own, is a big fancy boat. So I'm looking for something that would represent a smaller, not so fancy boat. And I could go with just the word boat. I guess I could go with canoe, but I'm thinking if I really wanted to be fancy, the actual answer, and if I had multiple choice especially, would be the word dinghy. I know that's probably not a word you're familiar with. I'm barely familiar with it as well, but dinghy is just like a small little boat that yachts actually have on them. So when people wanted to, maybe take a little trip out into the ocean, they can. So that one was a bigger version of a smaller version. Again, the relationships are different. Short is to light. Short is to light. As long is to, what are you thinking? I'm not real sure. How are short and light? They're both, I'm thinking short and, oh, look at the relationship here is short and long. Sometimes the relationship, I guess, then don't just go between the first two. It could be between any two. So I'm looking at this going short is to long. Those are opposites. So if I'm doing light, the opposite of light could be dark or it could be heavy. Let's see. And in this case, it was heavy. So that's interesting. The relationship in this one was really between these two and then between these two. So that's good to know. So let's look at the next one. Bees is to hive, is bears is to blank. Well, I'm going to look at these and I instantly think bees. These are creatures. These are living things that live inside of a hive. That's where they live. That's what you call their place of their home. So a living thing and where it lives. A living thing, bears, and where they live. And I just happen to know that a bear's home is actually called a den. So let's see. And that's true, a den. Okay, let's look at the next one. Speak is to sing. Well, speak is just saying single words individually. Sing is to put them all together in song. So walk is just to take individual steps. But if you're doing it, putting them all together and going faster, it might mean run. Let's see. Dance. That even makes more sense. So when we put words together and speaking, it becomes singing. When we put walking together and in a flowing motion, it becomes dancing. That makes sense. Okay, let's look at the next one. Chef is to food as sculptor is to blank. Okay, well, a chef is a person, and what they deal with, what they work with is food. So sculptor is a person, and what they work with is either clay or maybe rock. That is the substance, the thing that they work with. So let's see. Stone, rock or stone. There you go. A few more. Like is to love. So like is, the lesser version of love. This one is much more passionate. So dislike, but if you really dislike something, you might say you hate it or loathe or despise, all good words. So let's see. You hate something. So this would be a matter of degree. Liking something and then take it way further in its love. Disliking or take it way further in its hate. All right, couple more. Neon is a type and an example of a kind of a gas. Okay, so this is an example of this. So water is an example of, well, if I was thinking about science, anybody out there that likes science, I know that you've got gases, liquid, and solids as your states of matter. So I'm going to say, water is a kind of a liquid. So let's see. And there you go. And then finally, dog is to puppy as cat is to blank. Well, a dog is a grown up and a puppy is a baby. So a baby dog is a puppy and a baby cat is a kitten. I'm sure you all thought the same thing. So today, when you're doing your assignment, you're going to look at something very similar. This is exactly the assignment you'll be doing, but you have multiple choice, and I want you to be really careful. People think multiple choice is easier, but it's not always easier because the three other choices that aren't right appear to have something to do with the word you're trying to match it with. So let me take one, for instance. Let's go to, let's say, swim, water, fly, blank. Swim is to water as fly is a blank. Well, fly, I see the first thing, I'm like, ooh, bird. That's my first instinct when I'm just glancing. But if I look more carefully and I say, well, swim is an activity that you do in water. It's going to change that up a little bit. Flying is an activity you do in, maybe that's going to help you a little bit more. Let's look at one more before we're done. Let's go down to this one. Wind is to air as current is to blank. I am instantly go current blow. I'm going to say blow. Or I look at it more carefully and I go wind is the movement of air. So when air is moving, we call it wind. So wind is the movement of air. A current is the movement of what? That might help. So good luck today. I love analogies. Again, I hope you fall in love with them because we're going to be doing them for the rest of the term, not every day, but occasionally because they're just so good for your reading comprehension. Have a great day and let me know if you have any questions.